Okay, here's the deal. I recently went to Red Lobster for the first time in probably 20 years, and I have some thoughts. First, I was grateful to be taken out to dinner. It was a Christmas celebration, so I don't want to sound like an ingrate, but some things about Red Lobster really had me perplexed. So I want to say the generous couple who took us out didn't do the cooking, so hopefully they're not offended by my assessment of Red Lobster, because I really did enjoy the evening. But there were three things about Red Lobster that I just want to warn you guys about. Okay, I've never really been big on the whole concept of Red Lobster. I've never left there full, and that's after spending a lot of money. This was in the days before they came up with the all-you-can-eat options. So maybe other people felt the same way, and when they did come up with the all-you-can-eat meals, people went there to get revenge and get their money's worth, while almost bankrupting the company. You let people eat all they can, they are going to eat all they can. Okay, so when we walked in, I noticed a tank with lobsters in it, and I thought, yeah, right, like they actually serve fresh lobster out of a tank. And then I saw the price of these lobsters, and I thought, yeah, right, these lobsters are going to be there for a long time. Okay, so I ordered a lemonade, thinking that would be the best thing to go with seafood, and I have to say, I took one sip and I'm like, oh, this sort of tastes like, you know, when you buy a carton of lemonade or something like that in the middle of the summer and somehow it gets shoved to the back of the fridge and you discover it maybe in December and you go to take a taste and it's like, oh, this does not taste good. Well, that's how this lemonade tasted. Fridge old. In my opinion, I think the best restaurant lemonade is at Fat Burger. If you've ever tried it, I don't know what they do to it. It's way different than all the other restaurant lemonades, and it is delicious. Let me know in the comments if you agree or if you know a better place for lemonade. So Red Lobster charges $4.69 in the US or $4.29 in Canada for a glass. They appear to be the same size in both countries, so I'm not sure why it's cheaper in Canada. Maybe refills are free in the US and not Canada? If you know what the deal is, please leave a comment so we all know. Also, considering in the US you can buy a 2-liter bottle of Minute Maid at Walmart for under $2, this kind of markup could be considered, in my opinion, a scam. But so many other restaurants do this too that it's almost an accepted practice. So when it came to ordering, of course, I had to do my research ahead of time. So I studied the menu online at home and tried to figure out how I could get the most lobster taste for the least amount of money. I didn't want to take advantage of my generous host, so I did find one item that contained lobster and shrimp. So I thought, okay, well, this will be a good one. It wasn't cheap, but it was not as expensive as any of their other lobster dishes. So apparent scam number one. Our host insisted we order appetizers, and so I ordered the lobster bisque, thinking, okay, great, I'm going to get a extra taste of lobster. And well, at first I was very impressed. It's like, oh, I can see little pieces of lobster in this, little red pieces of lobster. And I took a taste and it's like, oh, there's absolutely zero lobster or fish of any kind, any seafood flavor at all. It was just sort of sweet. And then there was an overpowering taste of bell peppers. And closer inspection of the soup, I discovered, yes, those little red bits were like pieces of bell pepper. So that felt like a bit of a scam to me. I don't think there was one molecule of lobster in that. So a cup of lobster bisque in Canada was $7.49 and in the US it was $6.99. And on a weird side note, in the US you got served crackers with the bisque, and in Canada, nada. In the meantime, the server brought out some of those Cheddar Bay biscuits they're kind of famous for. A lot of people love them. I'm really not a biscuit fan. I don't like biscuits or scones that much, so to me they're just like meh. Years ago when I ate at Red Lobster, I was kind of grateful to have the biscuits because I left with something in my belly, and that was a lot of flour, dough. At least there was something to eat. Because yeah, I should say what I would order in things like a shrimp trio or whatever, and there would just be really minuscule amounts of shrimp, and it would cost a lot of money, and it just, to me, never seemed worth it. So back to alleged scam number 2, and it has nothing to do with the restaurant, but it does have to do with the biscuits, and that's these. I don't know if you've seen these in supermarkets, but it is the Red Lobster brand, and it is Cheddar Bay, says right there, Cheddar Bay biscuits. And so you think, oh, okay, yeah, I can make cheddar biscuits at home with this handy mix. Well, that's great. The thing is, you have to read the small print, and on it says, just add shredded cheddar, water, and butter. There's nothing cheddar about these. It's just a biscuit mix. You make them into cheddar. So these should really be called Bay biscuits because there's not an ounce of cheddar in this box. What if I used Swiss cheese? Then are they called Swiss Bay? I don't think so. It would be like if Kraft mac and cheese sold mac and cheese without the cheese. It would just be Kraft mac. So this should just be Bay. Either that or shove a packet of powdered cheese in it and call it a Bay. Red Lobster. So as a main course, I ordered the lobster shrimp linguine. And if restaurants had to actually label or title things based on ingredients, this should have been called linguine shrimp and lobster. Because yes, it was served in proportions like that. Before I begin my review of the linguine, I should mention the menu has seemed to have changed a little bit since I was there in early December. So now this dish has tomatoes added to it, and that could be because they're trying to give the dish some color because it was really bland looking, or they're trying to, and this is just my opinion, they're trying to make it redder so it seems like there's more lobster than there actually is. So in the US, a plate of this goes for $26, and in Canada, it's $32. So it's not cheap for dinner. Okay, so after being served my plate, I separated everything into portions just to see how much there was.
Wait, what?
And to my surprise, I found 12 decent-sized shrimp and a lot of pasta and a little bit of lobster, maybe 2 teaspoons. I don't know, there just wasn't that much. Both the shrimp and the lobster really were lacking flavor.
Hello, Face? Where are you?
So I suspect the shrimp was farmed shrimp, which is no surprise. And then the lobster, well, I discovered why. It probably had no flavor. Even when I reheated the leftovers the next day, there was no fishy smell coming out of the microwave. So yes, there was a generous amount of pasta, and I have to give them credit. It was cooked perfectly. It was like al dente or whatever the term is, but oh my God, it was excellent. But unfortunately, the lobster sauce they claim it was cooked in had zero lobster flavor. It was just sort of a creamy, garlicky kind of taste. There was no lobster about it. And maybe now with the addition of tomatoes, it gives it a bit more of a flavor profile. But yeah, it was just kind of meh. But yes, as you can see, this is the minuscule amount of lobster I got. I'm confused. There may have been some actual lobster in it because I actually bit into a piece of shell. Of course, yes, that's how it is with me. I always find something like that. Yeah, so there maybe was lobster, but I couldn't taste it. So this brings me to what I believe is scam number 3. And that is Red Lobster seems to use the term lobster rather freely. So as it turns out, the lobster in my dish is known as Langostino lobster. And I had to research what that was because I've never heard of it. And it turns out it's actually not a lobster at all. According to Wikipedia, squat lobster is actually closely related to hermit crabs. And Langostino is also called squat lobster, and obviously you can tell why they wouldn't want to call it squat lobster on the menu. It just doesn't have the same ring to it. It's sort of like when they rebranded portobello mushrooms. They used to be known just as regular mushrooms that had gotten big and woody, and when they named them portobello, the sales took off. So yeah, looking at pictures of squat lobsters, you can see that they're really not appetite-inducing. According to Wikipedia, squat lobster is used in the restaurant industry as a substitute for the more expensive lobster. The rules around calling it lobster say restaurants must use the term Langostino. That way customers will know they're not getting actual lobster. I'm sure that's clear to everyone. How many of you knew this? Code word for fake lobster is Langostino. Comment below. The only reason I discovered this was because I wanted to know why my Red Lobster didn't taste like lobster. According to AI, it says squat lobster doesn't really taste like lobster. It tastes more like a mild shrimp. And yeah, that could explain why I couldn't taste anything. So saying squat lobster tastes like lobster would be like saying a hamburger tastes like ham. And finally, on to dessert. I tried the key lime pie, and unfortunately it had the same flavor as the lemonade. Kind of a stale, fridgy taste. It also tasted like it was made of concentrated lime juice. So there was nothing fresh or real tasting about it. And then oddly, it came with this dried, petrified slice of lemon. It was decorative. You couldn't eat it. But I couldn't help but think, wouldn't it have been better to just put a lime wedge on the plate and let us squeeze some real lime on it? I would have walked away thinking, yeah, that was awesome key lime pie. But the way it was, no. It just did not work. And at $10 a slice in Canada and the US, that was just way too much for that kind of quality. Now I have to mention the whole meal was not a write-off. Number one, the service was awesome, and also the company at the table was incredible. So it was a very enjoyable meal other than the sort of quality of the food. Okay, so that's it. That's the deal with 3 alleged scams at Red Lobster that you should watch out for. There's other lobster dishes on the menu that I'm sure taste just like lobster. Like if you get a lobster tail, it's a real lobster tail. So, you know, the whole chain is not a total write-off, but yeah, be careful where they hide lobster within the meal, because chances are you're not getting real lobster and you're going to be disappointed with the flavor. Okay, so if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't done it already, I'd be honored if you subscribe to this channel. And if you have any comments about Red Lobster and your perception of them, or any other kind of restaurant that seems a little deceptive in their menus, leave a comment below and then we'll all know what to look out for. Thanks for watching. Bye.